Hello, this is Dean. Sometimes when you're working with a Korg opsix altered FM synthesizer, you want to be able to disassemble an existing patch, either because you want to understand how it works, or you might even want to use a component of it in your own patch. What I'd like to do today is to give you some suggestions for disassembling existing patches. Let's start with a simple example. This one's called Unsteady. I've got a basic sequence running and I'm just going to jam over it. Since the opsix has up to 32 notes of polyphony, you can usually afford to sequence some voices and still have plenty of other voices left to play over the top with. Anyway, let's disassemble this patch and see what's going on. The first thing to consider is the overall signal chain. So the audio flows from the operators, potentially through the global filters, and then into the effects. Sometimes you'll want to start by just disabling the effects. Under the effects button, we can just step through the effects and turn off anything that's switched on. Turn off the phaser, turn off the reverb. The opsix also has a selection of filters that can be applied across the entire patch. So under the filter button, we can see the filters. Now in this particular case, the filter is switched off, so it's having no impact on the sound. So far we've looked at the first step to working out how a patch is working in the opsix by considering the end-to-end signal chain. We turned the effects off and we turned the filter off so we can hear what contribution they're making to the overall sound. The next step is to isolate the different components of the sound by looking at the algorithm diagram on the screen and isolating the stacks of operators so that we can work out what contribution each stack is making. So this patch is using algorithm 3. An algorithm tree gives us two stacks of operators. It gives us a stack of 1, 2 and 3 and a stack of 4, 5 and 6. At the bottom of each stack there's a carrier, and that's the operator that you're directly hearing at the output. Above the carrier are the modulators, and the modulator's audio output flows down the stack of operators eventually into the carrier, and it could be used by the carrier in a spectrum of different ways depending on which altered FM mode, that is, what form of synthesis you'd like to use. The faders that control the carrier volumes are the red ones, and the faders that control the modulators are the purple ones. The consequence with this example is that if I turn down operator 1, I'm now turned down that stack of 1, 2 and 3, and I'm only hearing 4, 5 and 6. Conversely, if I turn operator 4 down and turn operator 1 up, now I'm hearing the first stack of 1, 2 and 3, but I'm not hearing the stack of 4, 5 and 6. So far we've looked at isolating what contribution each stack of operators is making to the overall sound. Having seen the stacks, we might now want to zoom in and work out what impact individual operators are having on the sound. One convenient way to isolate the impact of one operator or another is to use the mute or bypass modes. I'm going to mute operator 5 so we can hear operator 4 by itself. And a good way to do this is use the shift button and the ratio knob, turn it all the way to the right and your mute appears briefly on the screen and the operator backlight goes out. So what this is telling us is that operator 5 is now muted, so we're only hearing operator 4. So one thing to consider here is we're not hearing operator 6. The reason for this is that in this algorithm, operator 6 is flowing into operator 5. Since operator 5 is muted, no audio can flow through it, so anything in the stack above operator 5 is effectively muted as well. That's why, in this case, we're just hearing operator 4. There's another option here that lets us listen to operator 6 but take operator 5 out of the mix. We use shift and the ratio knob again, but this time instead of choosing mute, we select bypass that shows up briefly on the screen. What's happening here is that operator 5 is being bypassed. So we're still going to hear operator 6's effect on operator 4, but operator 6 is effectively going around operator 5. The difference between mute and bypass is that mute takes the operator in question and any operators above it out of the mix. On the other hand, bypass only takes out the operator in question, and any other operators above it can effectively flow around it to the operators below. So today we've looked at some ways to disassemble patches on the opsix so you can see how they're made. We looked at the overall signal path from operators through the filters and the effects. We looked at isolating stacks of operators, each stack sitting on top of a carrier, and then we looked at using the mute and bypass to isolate single operators. Now that we've considered the overall signal path of a patch, and we've looked at how to isolate stacks of operators, and we've used the mute and bypass to isolate single operators, now we can start to look at what operator mode each operator is in. In the opsix altered FM architecture, each operator can be hosting a different kind of synthesis. So some operators could be behaving like single oscillators, some could be doing conventional FM, some could be doing filter FM or ring modulation, and some can be providing effects like phaser, wave shaper, comb filter, a lot more. We'll keep going with this simple example, unsteady. So let's isolate the operator 1, 2 and 3 stack again by turning down operator 4. The mode for operator 1 is FM. So that tells us that this operator 1 is set to a conventional FM mode. And what that means, very briefly, is that operator 3's output is modulating operator 2, and operator 2 is modulating operator 1. So what we're really hearing is the combined result of that stack of operators on the carrier operator 1. So this is conventional FM. It's not entirely conventional because there are some wave shaping features applying, and there are some different waves other than sine waves. Nevertheless, for the most part, that's a conventional FM relationship. Let's turn down the operator 1 stack and turn up the operator 4 stack. Operator 4 is doing one of the altered FM modes, filter FM. In this mode, the operator can host its own filter. It could be one of 11 filter types, but in this case, it's a low-pass filter. This is local to operator 4. This is completely separate to the global filters over here that the entire signal chain can pass through. Operator 5 is providing a sawtooth wave, and that's modulating operator 4's cutoff frequency. Operator 6 is modulating operator 5, so the combined output of both of those operators is modulating the cutoff frequency of operator 4. You can hear a sort of vocal quality here, a sort of vowel sound, and there are several forces making that happen. One of them is the fact that operator 5 is at a very high frequency. And the other factor in this is that operator 5's local envelope generator is shaping that vowel sound. So in summary, we've looked at some ways to disassemble patches on the opsix so you can see how they're made. We looked at the overall signal path from the operators through the global filters into the effects. We looked at isolating stacks of operators by considering the algorithm. And then we looked at using mute and bypass to isolate single operators. Then we went a step further and we looked at the mode that each operator is in. I hope this helps you to disassemble existing opsix patches, either because you just want to understand how they work, or maybe you want to just take some component, one stack or one operator, and you want to use that in a patch of your own.